Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with JS Hobbies and Crafts, and this is my album in a box tutorial, and I used the Stamperia Provence paper collection. So I apologize it took me so long. Not only did I make a second one to go off the measurements and the fold outs that I wanted to do, but we moved our store back to its old location, and so I was down for a good two and a half weeks, and I'll show you this one in just a moment. So let's take a look at this one. This is the one we're making in the tutorial, and the box is actually a 7" by 9", and the lid is just slightly bigger so that I can get around it. And I'm just going to bring you around here. And some gorgeous handmade flowers on the front and some leaves. However, in this tutorial you can choose whatever flowers you'd like. So let's take off the lid, and this comes down. And what's nice is that all the fold outs and different things will help keep it up, so it's easier when putting the lid back on. So I'm going to pull this out, and what we have up here is a little pocket. And I just have some tags in this one. Down here I have one, a little picture mat, and I have stored these because I'm keeping this album. The other blue one is going to be for sale, and there'll be a link at the bottom of the tutorial after you're done viewing this. You can hop over there if you're interested and you're needing an album right now. Over here, what I have is just a small little picture mat, and here this is from the collection. It's a cutout, and I can put a picture back here if I want it, and I can journal something. Let's get into the album. I'm really excited to show you this. This is like a boxed frame, and it can hold a lot of photos. This is a 1/2" here. And up here we have a bunch of stuff that we ended up putting on there. So I'm going to pull these all out, and you can see that there's a lot of room in there. And I actually got a lot of picture mats in here. Oh gosh, I just have a bundle in here. So this album will hold quite a bit. Oh gosh. What do I have? About 17, 18, maybe 20 picture mats in here. So this is just a folder, and we create that together in the tutorial, and I put the solid colored cardstock in there. And you just slide it back in, and it goes back behind this tag. Over here we have a side pocket, and I have several picture mats that I put in here, and you definitely will need to bring in some solid colored cardstock. I chose a very light lavender. It matches in really good, but it's up to you what you want to do. Over here, and I wanted to show this to you, this is just a little tag, and it's glued down, and you can stick things back behind. And what I've done is I stuck a picture mat back there. So it's really cool. Okay, this is magnetic, and it opens up. And in here, all I have is places to put photos. This flips up, and we place this, and we just can tuck some things back behind or just plant a photo, whatever you'd like. This comes down, and wonderful spot down here to place a large photo. This is a fold out, but right up here I have tucked back behind this little tag is some photo mats. And the majority of my picture mats, these are smaller, but the majority of the ones I put in here are larger. They're anywhere from 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, so my matting is about 4 by 6. And there's a couple larger than that. So this opens up, and what we have is a little pocket area And all I did was I put a cutout in there and I got a picture mats. Okay, this is just a little tuck area. And there's a place to put a photo here and here, or place a photo here and journal, whatever you'd like. But I did tuck a picture mat in there, and I have this neat little cutout tag. Over here is a very large pocket, and you can just get larger photo mats in there. And just slide right back in. In this page we just have 2 pockets and we have some stuff going on down here. So let's take out these. We have some larger picture mats. Here, this is just a little tuck area back behind this. And this is just another little tag. And what I did was I used from the cutouts. And so I can put a picture and journal or a couple pictures, small ones in there. And that's magnetic. Same over here. This opens up. And back here is just from the collection. Oh, this is a fun page. I really enjoyed this one. So what this is a fold out, and it folds this way, and there's a wonderful spot to put either 2 smaller pictures or a larger picture and journal, whatever you'd like. Same over here. And then we have a pocket, and I have a free floating picture mat in there. And this area, you can place a photo and journal down here. And I thought that this paper is just amazing. Over here, we have a pocket, and I have a picture mat, and then I have a little tag area, little thing there. Came with the collection. And that's magnetic. And this is identical. You open this up, and there's a place here. Over here, you can plant your photo and journal down here if you'd like. Free floating picture mat. Another pocket, and you can place a photo right here. I thought that'd be neat. And there's enough left over in the collection to where you could plant a photo right in here, and you can also lay down something like that, whatever you'd like to do. And of course we have the same thing going on, cutouts and picture mat. Alright, so here what we have is a magnetic band. We'll flip that up. And you can see. And you know, down here too, on the little, if you have small little pictures, that's a wonderful place to put them. This is just like a side waterfall, and it's just like a series of fold outs going that way. So here what we did was for our photo, and then we can journal. Or just place another photo, whatever it is you'd like to do. And a place right here. Over here is a large cutout, and we put stickles down, and it's just, you can't, I don't know if you can see the sparklies in it or not, but we did some detail work there. And this just holds a bunch of picture mats, as you can see. And it just slides right back in, so you can just put as much or as little as you want in there. And this is just a little tag. I stuck. Next page is all we have is a couple pockets. And also I wanted to show you that right up here you can slide something back behind this little guy. And of course we have our pockets with our stuff, and I made a little folder with leftovers. Okay, this page here is magnetic, and this here has a little magnetic thing. I did not place any solid colored cardstock in there just yet. There's a little picture mat I just kind of stuck in there. And this flips out, and a wonderful spot to put a photo here. This comes out. Again, we have a nice size pocket. And for those of you that don't like to cover up pretty stuff, you can always put a photo on the back. And this is just a fold out, and we have a pocket back here. So that is what we will be making today. I did leave the back open. This is a wonderful spot for 2 good-sized pictures, or some small ones in journaling, or a nice 5x7. Let's take a look at the other one really quick. I'm not going to do the full thing, but I just want to kind of show you and tell you a little bit about the collection that I used there. And we're on. Yay! This one. Now this was made with the Ciao Bella Brocata Estents. And you'll need 2 of the 12x12 paper packs. And the paper packs they have 12 each in them. I know that they make some with only 8 sheets in, but you'll want the one with 12. So you just open this up, and we got the same thing going on here. The only thing different I did was I put a little flip underneath. We don't do that in the tutorial, but this is the same thing, just using different paper. So it will just kind of give you an idea here, what different paper will do. And this is just a free floating picture mat underneath the watercolor side thing. So, and there was no large cutout like on the other one, so I did a pocket on that. But it's the same thing. So that is what you can do with the Brocata Estents paper, and you'd be maneuvering it. If you chose to do this one, you'd be maneuvering the paper as you worked along using the measurements I give. Let's move on to the materials list. I'm going to be using the Stamperia or Stamperia Provence paper pack, and this comes with 10 double-sided sheets. And what's nice is on the back side they started printing a print so that we can use. In previous tutorials I always used the cover for sure because it's all usable, but they made it so much easier by just printing on the back. This paper is gorgeous. You're going to need 2 of these. And let me just kind of flip through really quick, give you an idea what we're working with. It's absolutely amazing. For your picture mats, you're going to want to get some solid colored cardstock. And I'm using a very light lavender color. And if you don't like using solid colored cardstock for your picture mats, then buy 3 paper packs. It's completely up to you. In this tutorial, I'm using the craft magnets from my store. They're very heavy duty. They're sold in 10 packs, and you'll need 2 packs. For the box and the lid, we're going to be using medium weight chipboard. And you are going to want 4 sheets of 12x12 size medium weight chipboard, and I am using black. You're going to want a value pack of the Coordinations 110-pound white cardstock. In here, it's going to give us 25 sheets, and we're going to need this for the pockets, the inner pages, hinges, all that good stuff, fold outs. Also, I'm calling out for some Coordinations Great White. Now this is 65-pound, and you're going to get 50 sheets in here. Now what this is for your picture mats. You don't need the thick 110-pound cardstock. You can use the 65-pound, but also I am going to be using it to die cut my flowers on, because I am going to be using the glossy accents to stiffen my flowers, but I find it's easier to shape them when using a 65-pound weight. Tyvek. We're going to need Tyvek, and we're going to need several strips off this for our hinging of our box bottom. And what Tyvek is, for those of you new, it is a very sturdy, durable material. It's not paper. It's something that, matter of fact, they use Tyvek on sides of housing. Adhesives. I am going to be using the Art Glitter Dries Clear Adhesive Liquid Glue, and you'll also want to get that metal tip. It's for precision. You don't need much of this for it to work. Score tape. I'm going to need a pack of the 1/4 inch and a pack of the 3/8 inch. And score tape, all it is a very heavy duty double-sided tape. It's optional, but I will be using stickles. You can use stardust, you can use crystal, you can use diamond, something sparkly. So you'll just need one. Check your stash. A lot of people have this. This is optional. I came across this. It's the Brilliance Dewdrop Galaxy Gold ink pad. I'll be using a couple of the Zotz singles, and these are permanent. They are acid-free, and they're approximately a 1/2 inch wide by a 1/8 inch thickness. I'm going to be using Prills, and these are the mini Prills, and it's lemon chiffon, and I'm hand making my flowers, and this is what's going to go in the center. If you are not hand making your flowers, you don't need this. I mentioned glossy accents, and this is what's going to stiffen up my flowers and my leaves, as well as put a nice gloss over them. Really makes those flowers pop. I'm going to be using some white ribbon. It's only 1/8 inch thick. It's for bows and little things here and there. Flowers and leaves. If you are making your own, I am using the Oakberry Lane Blossoms stamp and die by Heartfelt Creations. I really like this set. For my leaves, I am using the stamp and the die of the Heartfelt Creations Leafy Accents, so I can get these. If you are not hand making your flowers, on the downloadable materials list, I give you a link to find some flowers that might work into your project. Inks that I'm going to be using are the Tim Holtz Distress ink, and this is Seedless Preserves. It's gorgeous. It goes with this paper collection perfectly. Also, I'm using the Dusty Concord. So those are the two colors. You can see that the difference here, and it just looks wonderful. Also, I'm going to be using a little bit of yellow blended into the center of some of my flowers, so it's the Squeezed Lemon. For my leaves, the darker color I'll be using to stamp, as well as go around the edges and blot on, is the Peeled Paint. And then the Crushed Olive, which kind of gives it a lighter look to it in places. My flowers, most of them are going to be stamped actually with the Memento Toffee Crunch. It's a very light toffee color, and then I can go ahead and ink around and not be overpowered by any purples, and it gives me more options in this tutorial. Trim dies that I am going to be using, and if you're not doing any trim die cutting, hold tight, and I'll discuss that in a second. I am using a variety. I've used these before in tutorials, so I wanted to bring them back. The Heartfelt Creations Frame a Card Leafy Borders. I love these. They're wonderful, and they're an awesome accent. And plus, I can use these on my cards. The Heartfelt Creations Elegant Pocket Accents. All right, so the next one is the Petite Pocket Accents by Heartfelt Creations, and this is the one I'm after. It's beautiful. And then there's the Decorative Pocket Accents, and this is the one I'm going to be using in the tutorial. Those of you who can't find any leaves or anything like that, I want to say we did find when we moved. We actually thought we were out of stock of this. And this is the EK Tools Branched Leaves punch. It's a heavy-duty punch. And this is what it looks like. And I've showed this before where you can clip off little pieces and you can color them with the ink, and you can chop off as much as you need to put under a flower, but it also looks good as a trim just to place down. If you are not a die cutter and you would like to use a EK Tools punch, you can use either the large, wider edge, or the 1/2 inch, or whatever you want, because all of us will be adding the trim after the fact. We won't be cutting right on our panels or our fold-outs or our pockets. And this makes it easier so that people who like to die cut or trim punch, or perhaps you don't want any trim at all, I can do this tutorial, everybody's happy, and it's catering to everybody's needs when it comes to this. So that completes what we need to do. Check your stash, everyone. Things that you're going to need in this tutorial are you are going to need a ruler, a pencil with an eraser. You'll be labeling in the pre-cutting-scoring guide. Lightly label each piece so that it can be erased if needed. You'll need your scissors. You're going to need a craft knife. You'll want a cutting pad for sure, and a paper cutter, and most importantly, you're really going to need to have a scoring board and your tool. Let's begin with verifying we have the right chipboard sizes. So for the box, we wanted a 7 by 9 inch piece, and we labeled that box bottom. We wanted 2 pieces that were 4 inch by 9 inch, and we labeled those box sides. We also needed 2 pieces that were 4 inch by 7 inches, and we also labeled those box sides. Okay, we're going to start with these, so I'll put them off to the side, but let's verify we have their correct chipboard cuts. For our box lid, we would have had 1 piece at 7 3/16 inch by 9 3/16 inch, and we labeled that lid top. We also had 2 pieces cut at 2 inch by 9 3/16 inch, and we labeled those lid sides. And we had 2 more pieces that were 2 inch by 7 3/16 inch, and those were also lid sides. So let's take the lid pieces and we will set them out of our way. And the last thing that we want to verify right now is our Tyvek. And on the Tyvek, we cut 2 pieces that were 1 3/4 inch wide by 9 inches. So we had 2 of those. We didn't label them. We can tell by the different sizes of these. One's shorter, one's longer. And then we had 2 pieces that were 1 3/4 inch by 7 inch. I didn't have you score the Tyvek. Sometimes it's real slick to score. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold over and match my sides up as best I can. If your scoring board, if you can get it on there and it doesn't slip, all we're doing is folding that in half. So you would score that right in half, which would be about 7/8 inch. Measure in 7/8 inch on your scoring board and you can score it. For me, mine slips around too much, so I'm just going to fold these right on in half. I'm going to do it with these too. So let's do that really quick. I have all of mine, and I'm just going to have them with the peak side up. We're going to need our 3/8 inch score tape. All we're going to do is, you see where your peak is? Right to the right side of that peak, we're going to lay score tape all the way down. So you can see I have mine down. The next thing we're going to do is lay a piece of score tape just to the right of that, and then we'll repeat this for the other side. So just here's my peak. Just to the left of that, I'll run my score tape, and I'll get it over here too. Now, one thing that's very important is, even though our score tape is pretty potent here, you're definitely going to want to burnish down any score tape that we place down. And the reason why is we have to get out all the air from underneath that score tape. If there is air left underneath there, over time it will dry out and lift. So we're going to do that with the rest of our pieces here. I have all my score tape down and I've burnished it. The next thing is flip over your Tyvek. check to see if you have any overhang of score tape on all your pieces. You'll definitely want to clip that off. So let's take a moment to check our pieces out. We're going to start with the two shorter pieces. So I'm going to stick this off to the side. Here is our box, and you should have two longer sides. We'll stick that off to the side with the longer Tyvek. And you will notice that these are the same size as our 4x7 box sides. So we're going to do this real simple. I'm going to show you how this is going to fit together. One's going to go on top and one's going to go down here. Now, most importantly, you're not going to leave any spaces. You don't need that. So first things first, let's just put this off to the side. We have one of our box sides. I'm going to remove one side of my score tape backing. And this is where the craft knife does come in handy to lift that. Here is the sticky side, and here is the peak. The peak is going to be this way. I'm going to take this right to the edge. Edge up here, edge right here. And I'm going to carefully lay this down so it is right on the edge all the way down. And once you have that down, you can just flip that and use your tool to make sure that all the air is out and that's burnished down really good. Okay, for this one, I'm going to remove one side of my score tape backing once again. And this time the sticky side is here, the peak is here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Line that up, make it do what I want it to do, hopefully. Press it down, open it up, and burnish. Perfect. So I'm going to just put this one off to the side here. What's going to happen, like I showed you, is our chipboard sides need to be even on both sides. This needs to be pushed flush. I'm going to release the score tape backing and pull this flap over. And that's going to connect us. So I'll get this off and then recheck myself, make sure I'm all the way up there. And most importantly, it has to be even. And I'm there, and I'm pushing together so it doesn't get away from me. And then all I have to do now is burnish that down really good. So now you can see that this is going to flip. And Tyvek, what that's for is to make sure that over time you're not going to tear off from opening and shutting your album. Okay, I'm going to push this up, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Release this, and I'll keep that up, back it out of the way, and make sure my sides are exactly even to each other. Pushing together, putting that over. Very simple. And burnishing it down really good. So this is what you should have. We're going to do the same thing with the long pieces. So I'm going to remove the score tape backing off one side. Sticky side down, peek this way. I'm going to line it up to the edge down here and along the edge of that chipboard. Guiding it as I go to make sure that it stays where it needs to stay. Next, I'll remove the backing off this side. This is such an easy album to make. Now this is where you really want to look before you do anything. The edge of this needs to come to the edge of your chipboard right here, right where that crease is. Make sure you line up. If you got it off, this is where you're going to need to make sure that it's correct. So pushing it together, it's going to go. And you can see I'm where I'm supposed to be because I can still lift this without it curling up here. We're going to do the same thing with this side. Adhesive side down, peak going this way, and line this up. And the beauty about Tyvek is it's flexible. So if you accidentally have to adjust it and you get some crinkles or wrinkles, it's okay, because this will get covered up. And we're going to attach this. Again, I'm going to pay close attention, and I'm going to look to the side here, make sure where that chipboard's going to meet. Make sure you're in between, and I am. And I'm going to fold that over and burnish that all down there. So there is the basics to this. Our sides will fold up, and we're going to move on to our next step with this. The next part of our pre-cutting and scoring was the white cardstock, which was done on 110-pound cardstock, because all of our albums could be cut with that. And it was under the title of album box. What we cut were two pieces that were 2" by 9", and we labeled those box hinge. We cut two pieces that were 2" by 7", and we labeled those box hinge. And we had two pieces that were 4" by 9", and we called those side covers. And two pieces that were 4" by 7". We called those side covers. Okay, let's start off with the short ones that are 2 by 7s. Okay, and we're just going to fold back, and we're going to use a tool to burnish that down. So with the peak side up, we're going to do the same thing like we did with our Tyvek. We're going to first start to the right side of the peak, and then we're going to come to the right side edge without going over and lay another piece of our 3/8" score tape. We will repeat that for the other side. We're going to burnish that down really good, and then we're going to make sure that no score tape is peeking over the edge. Let's repeat that for this one. I have both of mine, and we're going to work with the short side. So I'm going to bring my box down here. I'm going to release one side of the score tape, and I'm going to be placing it on this. Now remember, you're going to line that up side to side, just kind of like what we did. Find your crease from your Tyvek, bring it all the way there, and press it down. So I'm going to do this and make sure that we do this right. The peak is this way. Line it up to your side and bring that all the way over. Now we can burnish that down. Remove the score tape from this side. Press it down and then burnish it really good. Now you should be inside between these two. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for this down here. Line it up to the side here of the chipboard and bring it all the way. Burnish that down. Release the score tape from this side now. Check to make sure you can still bring up your sides, and you should be able to. Let's grab the 2 by 9" box hinges, and we are going to do the same thing. We're going to fold, and with the peak up, we're going to lay our score tape on each side of that peak and then along the side. So let's get these ready, because we're going to do the same exact thing we just did there, but on this side. I've got mine down. Let's check. you should be able to lift these up. If you got it a little off, do not worry. We have things that can cover up anything over here, okay? Right through here. Now on the panel that is 4 by 9 inches, when you place this on the left side of your album, it will go right on over here. This is the one that you want to completely cover with score tape, because this is the side that our hinging, our pages are going to attach to. Alrighty, I have mine all down. You should still be able to pull your sides up. For now, let's just set this off to the side. Let's grab our chipboard pieces here and the white cardstock that we cut for that. We already went over our chipboard lid pieces. Let's go over our white cardstock pieces. We cut 4 pieces that were 2 inch by 9 3/16 inch, and we labeled those lid. We cut 4 pieces that were 2 inch by 7 3/16 inch, and we also called those lid. So on each one of these pieces, we are going to fold on the score line. We're going to burnish that down really good. Let's start there and do that with all of these. One thing is I forgot to mention, is that we had laid each one of these down on our scoring board, and we scored each one at 1 inch. And that's why I said let's fold on those scoring lines. That was in the directions. All right, what we're going to do is take 2 of the 2 inch by 7 3/16 inch. And you kind of remember how, and we're going to grab 2 of the smaller chipboard pieces that match it. We're going to do the same thing that we did before, like on the box. We're going to put these with the peak side up. You can erase any pencil mark that you may have if you'd like. If not, these will be covered because they're going to go down on these particular pieces. So let's lay our score tape like we've been doing. 1 on each side of that peak and 1 on the outside there without going over. I've got mine down, and we're going to start by releasing one side of our adhesive backing there from our score tape. And I think I'll start here. My peak is towards me, the adhesive side down, and we're just going to do the same thing we did before. Okay, we can also do that on this one and just place it down. Perfect. Let's just grab one of those, and we are going to butt it up next to the short side of your chipboard so it lines up just like the box bottom. The only difference is we are not going to have this as a hinge when we're done. It is going to be a stiff box lid. So we're just going to, what is that? Oh, nothing. And we'll burnish that down. We will do the same down here. Okay, burnish it down. Okay, grab 2 of your longer pieces, and let's apply the score tape the same way on these. Okay, I got the score tape on there, and first thing I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm just going to work with these like this. Remove the score tape, bring it to the side, match it up to the edge, and place these. So this is what you should have. Now we're just going to flip this over. If you have any writing on your pieces, you can erase them now. And we are going to, with the peak down, we are going to do the same thing with all pieces, except for this time it's on the inside. and we will place our score tape. Alright, so we have this to where our boxes like this. This is where we're going to make our boxes stay stationary. So I'm going to start with one side and show you as I talk about this. So one side's going to release. And again, we're on the outside of our album. So this is where a little patience might come in. I'm going to hold it. This is the short side. And if it's easier, you can fold this back. Okay? Maybe that might be easier. And you're going to bring it over to the side, line it up with that crease all the way over. Okay? I'm going to remove the score tape, backing off this side. Do not flip it over, because this is where you're going to hold it. And just kind of make your little box lid stand up if you can. And then you're going to flop this over the top. And then just press. Once you get a couple sides down, or at least one here and one here, it's a lot sturdier. And then once we have it all on, of course, it's going to be. And do not worry about the corners when we're done, because we have side corners. So I think I'll pull mine back. It might be easier to kind of show you. And I'm going to bring it up there, cross, burnish that down, remove the score tape backing. And then I'm going to get this propped up again where it should be. So we have one down here, one down here. And you're just going to want to look to make sure you're kind of where you should be. So I'm just going to burnish that down. So this is what we have. And it may flare out a little bit until we get these down. Let's go here, remove one side. And we are going to continue to do this on this and this. So I'll just fold this back, line it up. So just flop it on over the best I can. And then when I bring in the sides with my corner pieces that we have not yet discussed, it'll be okay. Okay, so you should be able to bring in your sides here now. Maybe put a little pressure over here. Hold your arm down, bring in the sides as best you can. It's going to be kind of slippery, at least on the surface I'm on. Do the best you can, and then burnish that down. So until we get our sides, it's really not going to be too sturdy for us. Okay, so there was one more piece to the puzzle here, and I spoke about our corner pieces. We had cut 4 pieces of cardstock that were 2" by 2". We put them on our scoring board, and we scored them right down the middle at 1". And all we're going to do with this is fold on our score lines here and add our adhesive. Now for this, if you would like, so it's easier, is to use glue. And the reason why I say it's easier is because you can maneuver easier than the score tape. So I'm just going to add some glue to the inside there. I'm going to bring up my piece so that I am even, as you can see. And I'm just going to bring that over. And do not worry about this because our paper covers that. And we're just going to make it so our sides are complete. So we're going to do that with each one of these. I'm going to bring in my other side, and I'm going to kind of look to see what I'm doing here. And I will bring this down, hold it down so it's a nice box fit. and then smooth it out. Okay, I'm going to finish up by putting glue and putting these two corners on there. So let's do that. Okay, so we have this piece here. Let's get ready to cover it with some paper. Okay, I got my paper pad out, but I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page here. Any leftover white cardstock cuttings that we did for where we're at this point, you're going to save them and put them in a pile. It's our scrap pile, and I refer to it as a reserve pile. So that will be one pile, because we do reach in and grab stuff like that during the tutorial. The next pile will be any leftover cuttings from our decorative paper, and that will be our second reserve pile. And we do grab in that all the time, and even if you have a slim little piece, keep it. You never know when that will come in handy. So I will be grabbing out of our first paper pad, and you will be grabbing out of one only, so you can set your other one off to the side until I say in paper pad number 2, grab this sheet. That way it will keep us more organized, and you're not shifting around from pad to pad. I'm going to move this up a little bit out of the way so you can see a little bit better. In your paper pack, you should have this print, and maybe up a little bit better there. There we go. And on the reverse side is this. And because we want to make sure we have the same leftover cuts, we are going to look at it this way. And I try to stay consistent on how I tell you to measure over. So I usually start from the left and tell you to move over this way, measure over and cut. So we're going to be looking at our paper where the trim is off like this to the right hand side. Measure over 3 inches and cut. Measure over again 3 inches and cut. And measure over one more time 3 inches and cut. So we will be left with 3 pieces of 3-inch by 12-inch pieces. So let's do that. So this is what you should have left. This piece goes into our reserves. Okay, we are going to connect 2 of these, and I am trying out a new paper cutter, but I'm going to bring this over here because it has a flat side. So we're going to grab 2 of our pieces, and if you were to put them up against something flat, it will help you, and it will also make sure that your cut was accurate. Grab your 1/4-inch score tape now, and I have some right here that's already opened. And we're going to flip these over. We want the polka dotted sides. On one side of this, we're just going to lay a piece of our score tape right at the edge. If you have any score tape peeking over, definitely clip it. Okay. Burnish that down, and not to confuse you or anything, but again, I'm going to be using the flat edge of this so I can get this on straight. And if you didn't get exactly 3 inches, you're just a hair taller on this, it's okay, because you'll just use that side for wrap the top. So all I'm doing now is I'm bringing this, I'm using the flat edge to keep straight, and I'm just going to overlap onto that score tape, and I'm going to burnish it down. Okay? I'm going to push this down, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay a piece of score tape at this side. And I'll clip off the overhang. And I'm going to attach So I've got 3 pieces now that are going to be attached. I'm just going to press that down. Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way. I don't need it here anymore. All right. So how this is going to do is, if you have uneven edges, the uneven's going to be towards the top, but we're going to end up wrapping around. And I don't think we're going to need any clipping really. Okay, so this part, you can use your score tape or you can use your glue. It may be easier to use glue, but you're going to have to make sure that you fill in through here. So I'm going to have you actually put the glue on this, just on all the sides, or just put your score tape there, but it's still easier in case you get your panel on. So you'll want to do one side at a time, and when you start, you're going to want to overhang off the side when you bring it down. Have at least a good, I'd say about a good 1/2 inch to an inch or so overhang so that you can wrap that around. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to do one side at a time. Make sure I get that edge there. And score tape is ideal for this. However, we're going to use our glue. Oh, cannot take that call. I have my thing going on buzzy. So we just want to make sure that we don't have any buckling or anything, especially along the edge. Definitely want to make sure that you're in there. Okay, here we go. All I'm going to do, make sure I have overhang. I'm going to bring it down, make sure I don't go past that black edge. Okay, I'm actually going to turn mine over now so that I can kind of press down in here. And then I can, and again, the side that is up here, notice, is the top, so that we have the lip up there. Okay, I'm going to keep going around, matching this around as best I can until I get all the way to the end. Now notice here that once this side is glued down, I can actually clip off a little bit from here so that it doesn't come back over here. Okay, so I'm going to continue gluing around my box. Or you can use score tape, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I prefer score tape with everything I do, but to be honest, it is going to get difficult to keep this lined up going around your edges. So that's why I say if you want to use your glue, use your glue. My little cutting from the extras, this little piece is going to go into my reserves. So this is what I have, and once you have it down, and like I said, it would probably be easier for you with glue. I prefer the score tape, but you do have to pull and maneuver it around the box. So this is what I have. Just make sure that you use your burnisher. Okay. There we have it. Okay, so this is where it flops over the top. And this is the easiest way I can tell you to do this is, see the corner here? I'm going to pull this up. I'm just going to slide my scissors in where that corner is. And I'm going to snip. I'm going to do this on each corner. Just snipping enough. Get there so I can wrap my edges there around the top, and then that will be covering any imperfections of my lid. So this will be coming down, and this is going to come over after I clip off the side. So right now all I'm doing is this. I'm going to bring this over, but I'm going to clip at an angle. so that my box looks nice, like that. I'll come over here. I'll bring this over, see where I need to clip, and I will come in at an angle. I'll do the same for this side. You need to trim some of your edges to the side to make it fit nicer. You can do that. So, and for this side, come in at an angle, and then this side at an angle. Okay? So this is what this looks like. I only chopped on one side of each there, except for this side. So this side is going to be glued down. Okay? I'm going to glue this side down, glue this side down, and it looks like I'm going to need to bring that side in before I put my final piece down. So I'm going to take a moment and glue that down and burnish it down. Okie doke, I've got mine all burnished down, and any imperfections that you may have, you can always cover up later. Now, the basic of this is we're going to have a piece of decorative paper that lays over this, but at least our corners are covered. So I took a short break, and I wanted to say, if your paper did not go on good, don't panic. I'm writing a note to myself at the end of the tutorial. We're going to fix it. And by what I mean by that is, let's say your side paper, when you were wrapping it around, perhaps you came down too far like this, in which case at this point I want you to trim off anything going over your edge. Perhaps when you were stretching it around, your paper got cattywampus and you have a big black space showing that doesn't match up. Again, don't panic. I'm going to show you a way at the end of the tutorial to fix that, and we'll add a trim border around here. If you have wrinkles, again, I'm going to help you with that, so do not be discouraged. It is hard to wrap your paper around here to get it to look good sometimes, because paper has a mind of its own. Okay, so if you have any overhang of paper from your bottom of your lid, trim that off and just put the trimmings in your reserve for now. Let's get to our sheet that's going to go on the top, and I'm going to make sure it's wide enough in case you are short and you're not even, like this. In your paper pack, and I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more so we can all see exactly what I'm doing a little better here. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back it looks like this. Very gorgeous. Now this is the side that's going to show up. As you can see, those two just complement each other so well. So, but when we're cutting it, I want us to have the same leftovers. So looking at your paper like this, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. So this is what you should have. We're going to put this in our reserves. Now, looking at your sheet like this, we're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. This gorgeous little piece we'll put in our reserves. So let's just flip this over. And I have some distressing, and you should be able to place this. Now, again, if you're a little short over here, that's fine. If you find this is still too short, what you're going to want to do is wait until the end of the tutorial, and you can cut strips to go over to cover anything. For this part, I'm going to lay score tape around the outside of my paper like a picture frame. And I'm going to be using my 1/4 inch score tape. So I've got my score tape around there, and all I'm going to do is run one down the middle and one on either side. And then this should be perfectly fine to hold down our flowers and what we plan on doing. So just burnish that really good. Let's remove the score tape backing. I've got the score tape backing off the back. Again, I'm looking at it like this. My distress is down there, and I'm just going to place this evenly. It's kind of hard for me to see what I'm kind of doing here, but I think that will be good enough. And once you have that down, let's burnish it down really good. Get those edges. That is what it looks like, and I think that is gorgeous. In your paper pack, you will find this print. So you can see it says home is where the heart is. That will look good. Or we have the lavender. And I'm going to choose the home is where the heart is. On the back side, it looks like this. So I'm going to put this on my paper cutter and I'm going to cut this panel out. So when I come over this way, because I'm not sure how we're going to use the rest of this, I'm going to stop at the corner and I'll pivot and come down this way. And then I'll cut off the white trimming. This is what yours should look like. And for this application, we're going to use our glue, and we are going to place that right there in the middle. So let's do that. This is what yours should look like. So this is how I'm going to do my cover. So or at least close to. So I'm going to show you what I did. I grabbed couple of my leaves. Now, if you're not using the leaves and whatnot, you can just tuck some leaves up underneath your pieces here, and you can also hand make your own leaves, just so you know. This I hand cut, and I didn't use any stencil or whatever, so I want to show you. All you have to do is like a teardrop, just like that. And what I do to get the center down there, as you can see I have a center, is I fold this right on in half. I then take the darkest of my greens and I run it down the middle. I then go around the edges and I blot it with some green. And then I come back with the crushed olive and I can blot it up to make a more realistic. And you can get stuff like this, and all you have to do is stick it up underneath your pieces. So that is one way. Those of you that are using the leafy accents, I have one of each of these, and I'm going to glue one down here, and I'm going to glue one coming over the top, just like this. Next, I'm going to take one of my full flowers, and I'll place that right here. I have another one that I made with the Dusty Concord, and I'll stick that there. And I have a tricolored one, and I'll tell you what I did is I started off with my lemonade. I blotted off most of the real potent color, and then I brushed everything, the whole flower. Then I just came back with my seedless preserves and did the edges really dark. And that's how that came about. Okay, so I got that. And then I have another, darker purple, and I'll stick that up there. And then I have some single layered ones, and they'll just go in here in between. And that'll be how I do it. So let's go ahead and put our flowers down. If you would like to add more flowers, do so. We're going to stick this off to the side. Now I realize we have not done anything down here. What we can do at the end is cut a piece of cardstock that's white and stick it down here. We can also cut white strips to cover the black on the inside, or just leave it. Myself, I'll probably just do the white cardstock, and I'll probably just leave this part alone, just erase and everything. I'm not sure yet what I want to do there. So for now, our lid is done. Let's grab our album. Let's just pull in the sides. And I'm just going to put my hand over the top there just to get these part in. I'll bring up the bottom. And you should have a good fit over your box there. That even looks good with black. Okay, the lid, we're sticking off to the side. We're gonna work with this. On our pre-cutting and measurement guide, we are on to the white cardstock inner pages. We cut 6 pieces that were 6 3/4 inch by 8 1/4 inches, and we labeled these inner pages. And what we did was, and I'm upside down here, but we laid this so that we were 6 3/4 across the board. We scored each one at 6 1/4 inches. And it matters not which way you did it. By the time we're done, our little hinge here is off to the left. So we had that going. So what we want to do now is we want to fold on each one of those score lines, and you'll want to burnish that down really good with your tool. Make sure it's nice. So let's do that with each one of our pieces. I have all mine done here. I'm going to switch over to my 3/8 inch score tape. Oh, it always gets legs on me, so I'm going to get into my new pack here. All right, so I'm just going to flip this over. My peak is up. On each one of these pieces, what we're going to do is right here, we're going to lay a piece of score tape without getting on your crease. And we're going to burnish that down really good. Next thing is you're going to turn it over and inspect it. If you can see any score tape hanging over, please make sure you clip that off. You don't want a messy looking album, and you definitely don't want that hanging out showing. So we're going to do that with each one of our pieces. So I want to, before we go further and put these in our bottom of the box, the base, make sure that you burnish these down really good. This is going to make or break your album, meaning that if there's air underneath there, over time it will lessen your adhesive, and once it starts pulling, it's going to come up. So make sure these are burnished down really good. Check yourself, double check, and clip off any overhang. Let's grab our base, the bottom part of our album, and we are going to attach. So what I want you to do is grab your ruler, and where we're going to start placing is over here. We want to measure over and put a pencil line at 3/4 of an inch. So measure over 3/4 inch from the side, and that is where we are going to place this. So what I'm going to do, so that you can kind of visualize and see what I'm doing here, here's my mark with my pencil. I'm going to release the score tape backing, and I am going to place this little hinge right here is going to go just until I can't see that pencil mark anymore. And I'm going to center that between the top and the bottoms. If you look at it, you might want to stand up and look over it, or make a little pencil mark down here where the bottom of this page and needs to fall. You can place that pencil mark. So let's place our first one. I hope I didn't confuse you. And this is the part where you're just going to have to take your time. And I'm going to look to see down here where that pencil mark is. I'm going to look over here, making sure I'm straight. As straight as I can anyway. And I'm going to place my first one. If you get it off just a little bit, it's okay. So I like to put the first one over here because the rest are going to fall in line. And we definitely have to make sure that we burnish that down really good. Okay, so there's the first one. Let's grab our next one. And this is just going to butt right up against that. And you will make sure it's even with the top and the bottom, and they all fall into line. So here we go. Match me up as best I can, and I think that's good right there. And then I'm going to burnish. Let's grab our next one, and we will set that next to it. I think that's good. And again, if you're a little bit off, chances are you're not even going to be able to notice it by the time you are done decorating your pages. So I wouldn't worry about it. And if this is your first album, I would expect it to be a little bit off. And if you got it right on, that's awesome. Okay, my next one, I'm lining it up at the top and bottom right next to it. Here comes my next one. I think right there. Okay, placing. And guess what? Our pages are in. Let's get the inside of our panels covered and do our pockets. So on your pre-cutting list, you had cut 2 pieces that were 3 inches by 7 3/4 inches, and we labeled that box wide pocket. And I'm just going to set that right there. The next one is we cut 1 piece of 3 3/4 inch by 4 3/4 inch, and we labeled that box side pocket. Let's find our paper, decorative paper. In your paper pack, you will find this print. It's the back side of this. So in order for us to have the same leftover sheets, we're going to look at it like this. Measure over 3 3/4 inch and cut. Measure over again 3 3/4 and cut. And one more time, 3 3/4 and cut. This little skinny piece, put in your reserves. Okay, this piece here set off to the side. So all I'm going to do is double these 2 up. I'm going to measure over 6 3/4 and cut. These 2 smaller pieces here stick in your reserves. Okay, we're not going to glue these down, but if you notice and place this down, this will give you a gorgeous white border around without interfering with your hinge. You should probably be about 1/8 inch away from your hinge here. And this one should fit as well, right down in there, giving you white borders from the sides. Okay, I'm going to move this off to the side here. Those 2 pieces like this. We're going to cut trim, of course, but the trim will be cutting separately. So that's where your extra scraps, cuttings from when we cut all those pieces is going to help you save on having to cut into a fresh piece of your 110-pound cardstock. So let's start with these. Let's grab our 1/4 inch score tape. And we'll just place it at the bottom of each one. Whoops, I got crazy with mine. Looky here. I went over the side. Oh, that's not good. We definitely don't want that. So if you've done that or you did that too, I get nuts with my score tape sometimes. Craziness. But that should be good enough. I do need my burnishing tool. Here it is. All right. So what we're going to do is burnish that down really good. And I'm going to start with this one. And where is it? Here we go. So I'm just going to peel that away. I'm going to take one of these. Okay, and you can turn it over to the other side or whatever, but we are going to place paper over that, so it really doesn't matter. But this is the 3" by 7 3/4. I'm going to give it a little bit of a bend. And when I bring this down to the bottom where my score tape adhesive is, I'm going to center this side by side, leaving myself overhang on each side so I can wrap it back behind this piece. And when I lay this, I like to just kind of softly place it there and tap in the middle, and then I take my fingers and I smooth out. You should be able to see this pop up just a little bit, and then I'm going to go back over it with my bone folder there. Okay? If it doesn't pop up, that's okay. Don't worry about that. We're going to flip this over now, and we will just pull in our sides. And I'm going to grab my glue, get those tabs, and you don't have to be exactly even with the overhang. It's just make sure you get enough that come over this side and have something there. And I'll burnish that down. If you have any glue seeping out, we'll clean that up. Okay, so there is one pocket. We're going to repeat this, and actually I am going to lay another piece of score tape because I'm real thin down here, and the last thing I want is my score tape or my pocket to get a little hole in the bottom or not have enough adhesive. So I'm just going to redo that. Okay, there we go. Here is our 3" by 7 3/4. I'm just going to give that a little bend. Make sure I have enough overhang on each side. Bring it down to the bottom. Press in the center and press out. We'll wrap these flaps behind the back. Go away. When I do want my score tape, it hides. And when I don't want it next to me, it attaches to me. I can't win. Okay. And we'll put a little down here. If you do not have the metal tip for your glue, I recommend getting it. It controls how much the adhesive comes out, the liquid glue, and it really does save. This is a great glue adhesive. You can actually use it on metal and lace and all that good stuff. So, okay, here are our pockets. Now, I want to tell you one is going to be, here's the top of my album, here's my, over here. This one is actually going to place upside down. And the reason why is I think it's easier to be able to put stuff in this way than try and get it when having to open up your full album and then get in that way. So mine's going to be placing like this. Not just yet, but it is. And then that one's going to place so the opening is towards the top. Just thought I'd let you in on that so that I get my print. I'm not sure what I'm going to grab here yet. I'm going to keep one upside down and one upright. In your paper pack, you will find this print. It's the very last print. It's printed on the back cover. We're going to turn it like this. We're going to measure over 2 7/8 inch and cut. And we'll measure over again 2 7/8 inch and cut. Put the large piece in your reserves. We'll be working with this. Let's double up our pieces. Measure over 6 3/4. If you can't double up your pieces, just measure over 6 3/4 inch and cut, and the same on this one. We have our pieces, so I'm going to stick one right here, And this one is going to go upside down because this one is going to be upside down, but when you pull the box up, it looks right. So if you are not die cutting or paper punching, what you can do is glue yours down, and you will have a white lip. When doing this, I wanted to make sure that everybody has a good looking trim. So if you're not die cutting, you'll have a nice white clean trim. But if you're die cutting or paper punching, we're not going to glue ours down just yet. If you are using paper punches, go ahead and grab a piece of cardstock from your reserves and punch across the long side, making sure you are wide enough and able to place it down. Okay, now one thing is, if you're using a wide one, what you're going to do is cut and leave yourself about 1/8 of an inch, or actually 1/4 inch of white showing. You'll cut your border like this. And on this particular one, you do want to make sure you have enough overhang. So with yours, what you can do is place down your piece and glue that down. And if you're using the smaller 1/2 inch, you'll be fine with just slipping that underneath for your trim, like so, because you'll only be, you won't go over the edge, okay? And then what you can do is wrap your around that side and then glue this down over. If you are using the wide punch, the larger ones, what you'll want to do is, when you have this down, you will cut yours thin and you will place it just like that on top of the white, and you will then wrap yours around and have your border trim look like that. And that looks good. Alright, I'm going to set that off to the side. Die cutters. Let's see here. Look in your scraps for something like so. Make sure that your piece has enough overhang. And I am in the petite pocket accents. I grab this plate and I will just center that. And I'm going to run that through my die cutter. And you will need 2 of them if you are punching, or if you're die cutting, you're going to need 2. Die cutters. If you are using the same border die that I am, what you're going to do now is stick this, either use your scissors, which is fine. You'll want to keep straight though. You will cut from the line here, straight across. You'll come from where the die cut over on this side ends, straight across on each side to release your piece. So let's do that. Die cutters, here's a little trick to keep yours straight and the same. If you're doing by hand, is just flop them over and then you can cut to keep them the same. Die cutters, we are ready. We're going to apply our glue and we're going to glue that down. The next thing we're going to do is apply glue, and we're going to make sure we are even from side to side, and we are going to glue that down. On this one, it's the same thing. We'll glue that down, leaving our lip down here, and we will glue our piece here. And the only reason why I had all of us wait is because the paper puncher people, if they're using the small trim, they have the option, if they're using the 1/2 inch punch, of hiding that band underneath. And I want to make sure that we stay together as a group, so that there are options here for everybody. Okay, let's glue down our pieces and our die cuts. Here is a tip to make things easier so you don't accidentally get glue seeping out and glue your pocket shut. Grab something from your reserves, a scrap piece of white cardstock, and just slip that back behind in your pocket so any glue that seeps out will seep onto the paper. Alright, the left side is where our hinging and pages are, so this one we're going to apply glue to the back, and we are going to center that top and bottom, so you'll have a white trim about close to 1/8 of an inch down there before you hit your hinge, and you will center it from side to side. We'll do that one, and the same thing down here. And again, this one is upside down, and you didn't have to keep it upside down. It makes no difference. You could have just turned it, but for me, because I'm easily confused and get turned around, I definitely wanted to keep it upside down while I worked on it, too. Otherwise I'll space it. So, and then we will glue that one down. Mine are down. So I'm going to stick this over here. Sorry about the bouncing camera, I knocked it. We're going to get this ready to go. We already cut this piece, but I want us to turn it looking at it like this. This is upside down. We're going to measure over 8 3/4 inch and cut. See this? Just set it off to the side for now. And for this, we have our little pocket here. We'll lay it down, and we are going to do a pocket like we just did. And we'll place our score tape and burnish that down really good. Our 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. We want to make sure that the way we're looking at it is so that we are 4 3/4 inch wide for the width, because we have to have enough room to wrap our flaps around the back. So we're just going to place this and wrap our flaps around the back. We're just going to glue down our little flaps. Grab this back out of your reserves, and on the back it looks like this. So to make sure, because the writing is cursive and everything, let's just flip this over and look at it like this so we all have the same leftover pieces and no one gets confused. Measure over 3 3/4 inch and cut. The larger piece goes back in our reserves. Okay, I want to show you guys, for those of you that are new to making mini albums, I want to show you a technique, and it's measure to fit. That's what I call it anyway. If you were to grab your piece, making sure the writing is towards you the right way, and you were to place this down, leaving a little bit of white border on each side, and leave yourself a little bit of a white lip like you did before. You would come down to the bottom of the white cardstock, make a pencil mark, and now you know where to trim. And I call that trim to fit. So let's do that. Erase any pencil marks if you can see them. If you are not using decorative trim, you can apply glue and glue that down, centered side to side. You'll have a little bit of white border here and here. Those of us that are die cutting or punching, if you are punching, for example, using the large or the shorter, what you're going to do is leave yourself enough lip there, and you can place this down, and you can chop off what you don't need. You can glue that down over that little lip, wrap your sides, tack them, and then place your paper over it. If you are die cutting something and you come across the same thing where you can tuck yours back behind, do so. But if you need to glue on top or whatever, or you know, just die cut first. If you're using dies, figure out if you can do it that way. If not, we go over the top. Die cutters, I'm using the same Petite Pocket Accents die, and I'm going to apply glue. I have my piece, and I will place that down after I glued that down, and then I'm going to wrap my sides around the back and tack them down. So let's do that. I've got mine down. That little piece I said to stick off to the side, I am going to cut out and around this piece. And I'll show you what mine looks like. And I think let's see, I'm not going to include in my cutout these flowers, but I am going to cut out and around them just in case I can use them as well. So I'll show you what mine looks like. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing to create this other than having a flat. Is I am just coming in at an angle. So I'm going to clip this way, and then I'll come in, and then I just clip. And then that way, it isn't so boxy looking at the top. It kind of looks like there's stuff coming up. You don't have to do this, you guys. Unless you're a really good fussy cutter, can make that look good. But I definitely want to use this image. And that is what I am going to do and have done. So you can see. Now for this is actually going to place on the right side. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. And I think I'll place it where the yellow is more up top. We're just going to place that down there. This, we don't need to back it or anything. We're just going to glue that down right like this. I think that will look absolutely amazing. Yep. And I'm going to overlap this slightly. And notice I didn't try to grab the handle because it was cut off from the print. So I just cut it right on out. Now grab a couple of your small flowers. Okay. And I think this one is going to go right here. And I think I will, as far as leaves go, you should have some of these if you've done or if you handmade your own. Let's just grab a couple leaves. I'm going to use a little hot glue because it's very quick with drying. And then I'll put this one, another color, right here. I like that. I think that looks good. Okay, we're ready to apply glue. We're just going to apply glue to the back of this. And we are going to center that top to bottom, side to side. You'll leave yourself some room from that hinge area there. And then what we're going to do is make sure we use our tool and burnish that down. If you have any leftover paper from when we were fussy cutting out this image, just stick it in your reserves. We are ready to move on to page 1. We're on page 1, but before we go further, there's a couple things that I want to take care of before we do anything else. If you notice on the left side, you have your papers. And when you try to pull it up, this back page may be getting caught up on this little lip here. Let's take care of that so we don't bunge up or mess up any of our pages. This is not part of the pre-cutting measurement guide. I forgot to include it, so we'll do it now. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 15/16 inch by 8 15/16 inch. Okay, so what I want you to do is, if you were to place this on your back page, what we're looking for is if you pull up this side and you pull in this side, your paper did not move, meaning it did not do this, bubble. If it bubbled up, then I want you to trim just a hair off to the right. Okay, we're also going to check it this way to make sure. And so long as your paper does not bubble up, you're good to go. So let's get that down. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to place score tape around the outside like a picture frame. I'll go one down the middle and one on either side. And I'm going to use my 1/4 inch for that. So I burnished down my score tape. I got the backing off. Now this is very important that we get this on right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be watching my sides. But I'm going to be pulling this up so I know exactly, actually I'll do it up here because I can see better, so that I know exactly how far up I need to go. And then I'm just going to place it. And then we burnish it down. Now, if you got it on wrong and it does kind of crease on you, it's okay, just iron out those creases, okay? So just make sure that's down really good. So now this should not hook up on anything, it should go smooth. Okay, next thing, if you got the gold, Brilliance Gold, Galaxy Gold, what we're going to do is run this along the edges of each of our pages to kind of give it a gold foil look. But before you do that, look in your reserves for a scratch piece of your cardstock like this. And we are going to first get used to our ink pad. So I'm going to hold it like this and at the side, and I'm just going to go like that. I'm not going to smash it in, because what happens is you can get too much. But if I'm just lightly going one direction, I can get that gold a little bit there. So once you think you got the hang of it, let's do this. And I like doing it actually after I lay my pages, because then they're a little more sturdy. So I'm just going to kind of hang on to this and rub. Now, if you're afraid you're going to mess up your page, then you can just not do this. So I've got one on there. Very simple, just light little strokes one way and then come the other way. Let's start with our pre-cutting. And the first thing that we cut for page 1 was a 5" by 7", and we called that frame base. There was no scoring. The second piece was a 7" by 8". We called that 3D frame. We laid this on our scoring board so we were 7 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 6 inch, and 6½ inch. We then turned it so we were 8 inches across our board. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Next we did just a tiny little piece. It's a 1½ inch by 2 1/8, and we labeled that pop out pocket. And last we did a 4" by 6" piece. We called it a frame template. That is what we're going to start with, and we definitely want our 3D frame. You're going to want your cutting mat, you'll want a pencil, and your craft knife. All I'm going to do here is center this. Here are my lines. My scoring lines are down here, so I am going to center it between this top score line and the top of this, the best you can. Once you think you have it where it's supposed to be and it's even, if it's a little off, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. We're just going to use our pencil and we're going to trace around this little 4x6 template, and then we're going to cut it out with our craft knife. And I'm going to inspect. It looks close enough to me. So I am going to do this now. I'm just going to line this up, take my craft knife, make sure it's even, as much as I can anyway, and I am going to cut out that middle section. So let's everybody do that, and you may want to grab a new craft blade. Once we get that popped out, we'll resume. Now we're just going to clean up what needs to be cleaned up. For example, down here I have a shard. I'm just going to try and even that up the best I can. Okay, we will be laying paper around this, so I'm not too concerned. And I think that's good enough. Okay, cutting mat, I don't think I need that. And as far as this goes, we can still use this. So what I'm going to do is put this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to trim off the edges to clean this up a little bit. Let's finish up on this piece. See these little corners? You have 4 small corners. Okay, we're going to cut out that complete section. So I have an outside score line and an inside. On my inside one, I'm going to cut straight up to that top score line going across. And then I can just snip that right on out. Okay, same thing. You have an inside score line and an outside. On the inside, cut up to the top score line there. And then we will cut across. Okay, we do not need these little guys. Let's fold on those score lines. And you'll want to use your tool to get a crease there. Once you have your sides done, let's do this one up here. What's going to happen is we're going to be pulling in the sides, not yet, and we will be gluing down here to make a frame. So let's set this off to the side. We'll just set our pieces, this piece, your template, your 5x7 base, and your little one. We'll put that off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print, and on the back it looks like this. So we're going to need a ruler for this, and we're not just going to measure over and cut this right down. There are some pieces on this that I want to reserve for use. So we are going to measure over 6 inches, and I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm going to make a pencil mark. Okay. I'm next going to measure down 8 inches from the top and make a pencil mark. Okay? So what's going to happen is I'm going to put this, and you can come straight down. It might be easier coming straight down from your 6-inch mark to see exactly how far you need to come down 8 inches. So we will stick this on our paper cutter, but all we're going to cut is we're going to run this from here to 8 inches, and then we are going to cut across. That is going to give us a 6-inch by 8-inch piece without cutting down here. That's why I don't want to cut all the way down, because I want to be able to use this too. So let's do that. And if you'd like to wait a moment, I will show you what mine looks like. Here is my 6 by 8 inch piece, and this is what we're going to use for now. Why don't you stick this in your reserves? This is going to be our base page. Grab your 5 by 7 frame base. In your reserves, you will find this. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. Stick this long piece in reserves. Looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 6 7/8 inch and cut. Put the smaller piece in reserves. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to apply glue, and we're going to center that, giving ourselves just a hair of a white border going around. So let's do that. Once you got it down, burnish it down and get all the air out of there. Make sure your glue gets moved around and any excess cleaned up. Let's grab our frame. I've got this all burnished down. We're going to make sure that when we push in, and I'm looking at the back here, my peaks are all down or to the sides. I'm going to try and get this so it is flat, straight as I can. I'm going to place some glue down here at the corners. This is our bottom part, and I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to match up the sides there on both, and I'm going to hold it. Okay, we're going to let that sit for a moment so the glue can dry. And I have a little sliver of something I don't want there. Okay, so there is our frame. Take this, slide this back behind, and it should fit right on in there. Okay, and you will have like a shadow box, and here's the back. Okay, I'm not going to use score tape. In fact, what I'm going to do is pull this back out, my little insert, and I'm going to just put glue along 3 sides, a bottom and over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this and slide that in all the way to the bottom and back. So once you have it in there, how it's supposed to be, and you're down, now what you can do is push. And you can use your burnishing tool to get that down good to help it. I hope that made sense. So get down at the bottom. Make sure it's adhering down. Now check before your glue sets that you are all the way over to the sides. Sometimes it can get away from you like it just did for me, and you'll want to re-glue that. Okay, so this is what you should have. In your reserves, you will find this beautiful print, and on the back is the flowers, and that is what I want, is the flowers. But we need to look at it like this so we all have the same leftovers. Measure over 3/8 inch and cut. Measure over again 3/8 inch and cut. So here are the 2 skinny pieces, and this is the top. The opening is the top. And we are just going to bring that to where there is just about a 1/16 of an inch of white showing. And this is the part where if you have anything that is uneven over here or looks cattywampus, you can actually bring this over to cover some of that. Okay, and leave yourself a little white border off to the side. So I'm going to make a pencil mark because I'm going to measure to fit, making sure I give myself a little bit of a white border down there, and I'm going to cut. I'm also going to do that on this side. Your 2 leftover pieces, the small ones, will be going across this way. So let's double check ourselves before we glue this down. And mine's a good fit there. And over here, let's take a look. And mine's a good fit here. So I'm going to apply glue, and I'm going to glue these down. I've got mine down. The next is grab one of your shorter pieces, and this is where you're going to push it all the way to the top corner to match it up. And you'll match it up over here. And then you will measure to fit. Before you glue it down though, you can clip your edges so that it looks nice. And by that, I will show you. Let me just do this, and I will hand cut really quick. I think I'm going to mark right about there. Please be even. Okay, so I have this over here. And over here, what I mean by is you can just come in at an angle and clip. And you can do the same thing over here to the edge, so that when you're placing it, it looks nice. So we'll do that with down here as well, and then we can glue these down. This is what your frame should look like. And let's put some paper down here and down here. Grab this piece back out, measure over 3/8 inch and cut, measure over again 3/8 inch and cut. All we're going to do here is check out the sides here. We are just going to bring that up. You'll have a white border, top, bottom, and sides. And we're going to measure to fit, so we will cut that and glue that down. We will use the leftover to do the bottom, and then the other long piece will go over here. So let's take a moment to do that. Any leftover clippings? Put this in your reserves. Okay, I called out for some zots. Pull out about 6. So what we're going to do is, on your zot, you can peel off one side, and you will peel off one side off of another. We are going to put these two together to make it even thicker. So two together, you can just leave your little plastics on there for now. And we'll put these two together and these two together on top of each other. You can see my three down here. Okay, time to release. These suckers are so sticky. Here's the top, here's the bottom, and the bottom is where I want to stick these, so I'm going to show you. Down in the bottom here, I'm just going to stick one towards the bottom. If it'll give me my finger back. We're going to stick this one towards the bottom here and one over here. And we'll start there for now. And I'll show you mine in just a moment. I need to take a break and put some lotion on my hands. My skin is so dried it's cracking. That's what paper and winter does for me. So I do have to take a little bit of a break to wash my hands and get some lotion on for a bit. Make sure this does not touch it, but you can see what I've done there. Look in your reserves for any skinny little pieces. Cut a strip that is about, I would go about 1/8 inch wide. And this is just, and I'll show you what this is for. And what you're doing is cutting to get from side to side on your thing. So you see these? I'm just going to set this right on top, and I'm going to trim off what I don't need. But I'm going to set this right on top of those so that when I do place stuff in here, it does not touch those zots. And you can just kind of wrap around the little sides there. This is not hard at all to do. And it does not have to be perfect because you can always push down your little zots to get them even as you can. But you can see what I've done there. Grab this back out of your reserve, and I am going to show you what we're going to cut. And you can do this by hand to start. Now where I'm cutting is right here. You see this drawer right here, you see a line? Let's just cut straight up. And now we're going to cut over without cutting into this because we're going to cut that out. So I'm actually going to stick this on my paper cutter, and then I'm going to show you. So that you can get an idea, you don't have to be real specific. But notice how I came and I cut just below the flowers because we're going to fussy cut those out. So I want this piece because I think I'm going to use it. And then for the rest of this, what we're going to do is come in this way. So to start, you can just cut out and around this piece like so. And then we can stick this back in reserves. And what I'm going to do, and this was just a thought here because I saw this, I am going to cut out and around this piece. And this is going to look really cool. This piece here, put back in your reserves. I'm changing gears on us. This is what mine looks like. There's nothing real special about that fussy cutting. I'm not the best fussy cutter. But you're going to want some leaves. If you don't have leaves, you don't have to have it. I'm just going to use this long one here. And I'm going to get these ready. I'm not going to do anything just yet, but how this is going to work is pretty much like this. And I've got 3 flowers. And I'm not going to glue those down just yet, but you can see how pretty that looks. We're going to just put those off to the side. Pull this out of reserves. And what we're going to do is cut in here, out, along there. We're going to come up here to the top of the rope. And we are going to, let's see, we're going to cut this way. We'll cut around the flowers. And we will come across that way. So I'm going to show you first. This is what I cut. out these little leftover pieces. We're just going to put in our reserves. This page 1.5 by 2 1/8. We're not going to use it. I'm omitting it because I found something better to do. That's going to be cooler. Okay, so we do have this in here. Look in your reserves really quick. You may have a piece of cardstock, and all we're going to do is cut a piece that is slightly less than that. We want to put it right here in front of those little glue things. This is only about 3/4 of an inch wide. And before I do anything, I want to make sure it's going to fit in there. It's going to touch my little sticky things, but I want to make sure that it sticks. So I'm going to stick that in here right in front, so anything that goes in there. And then I'm going to push down on those sticky things so it covers them up and we're popped out. So you should have something looking like that in there. All right, for this, I want you to center this side to side, as you can see, just like that. And I want you to bring it up to where you can still see about, maybe 1/4 inch of your paper underneath here. And once you have that centered side to side, we're going to trim to fit this. So I'm not going to wrap it around because we can use that trim elsewhere. So I'm just going to make sure that it reaches all the way across my piece. And I will snip this. Okay. I'm going to glue that down. So where I need to get glue is right in here, right across here, my front. And I need to make sure I leave that little lip down there. Okay, I think that looks good. What do you guys think? Okay, as for these, let's stick these and make sure your glue's down there. Stick these in your reserves. If you have any leaves, grab some. And we are going to glue that down just like that. We're going to take our piece and we're going to glue that at an angle just like that. We're going to take a small flower and we'll glue it there. Another small flower and another one. And I'll put the purple there and then the other pink one there. So just like that, and I think that that looks really good. So let's glue that down. This came out much better than what I originally thought I was going to do. Let's finish up with our pop out. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and we're after this one. This right here. On the back, it looks like this, kind of like the other print. So for me, instead of cutting down across my paper, I'm going to come in from the side here, and I'm just going to cut this right out. I think this is the one I want to use. All right, your little piece down here that we popped out, the bottom of this, we're going to put some glue, and we're going to glue it to that. And I'm going to stick this in carefully and have it at an angle, and it should be popped up. So it will pop up rather than lay flat from not being glued down. Alright, we need to turn this over now, and we are going to apply our score tape. And for this, I'm going to use my 3/4 inch, and I'm going to go around the outside of this like a picture frame. We're going to go one down the middle and one on either side. And we are going to carefully burnish that down. There shouldn't be anything on the front that we're really going to mess up or hurt. Let's get our base sheet. When we position this, we are going to bring it all the way over to the right. So the edge of this is going to be with the edge of that. And we will just center that top to bottom. Now, if you have leaves that, like mine, that are sticking out, what you're going to want to do is glue the tip down to your paper so it doesn't get caught anywhere. And then we're going to place this in our book together, and you may want to watch me first and then place yours, because I do show that. Okay, I got my sheet here, and hopefully I won't get my head in the video, but I want to be right at the edge, and I'm down. You need to use your tool to make sure that this is burnished down really good. And I think to finish this off, once we get this in our book, I want us to make a folder together that will hold pictures. I'm going to tack this down with a little hot glue so it's quick. Let's get our score tape. And you shouldn't hurt this either. Your little shadow box for our pictures. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go all the way around the outside like a picture frame. I'm going to go 1 down the middle and 2 on either side with my 1/4 inch. And I'll show you what mine looks like. I've got my score tape on, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do and how we're going to place this, so that you can see better, because the white is very hard. Even though we did ink the edges, I'm just going to stick that there for right now, this piece right behind my first. Okay, make sure you have the top up at the top. And I'm going to come over here. I think I had a little too much coffee today. Get that on straight. There. So I did the best I could without getting my head all the way in front of you guys. But there it is. Now, most importantly, let's burnish this down. And this is really easy to burnish. So I want to make together a folder to slide in here. And I'm going to set this off to the side. And I think what we'll do also is make a picture mat together to slide in there.